Today on Business Journey Unlocked, I'm here today with Michael Fernandez, the CEO and fund manager of the Investors Pool, a real world asset tokenization platform bringing fractional real estate ownership to a wider audience. With 17 years in real estate and capital markets, Michael blends real estate finance, capital raising, and operational expertise, especially across special needs housing and investor backed property syndication. Michael, I'm very excited for this conversation. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. You're pretty spot on about that. Launching first full platform, and we've been raising capital for real estate for a number of years now. We were doing it more as one-off projects, right? They were kind of spread out across the U.S. Different projects. So we had different investors that we would go to put the capital together. Always wanted to do a fund. But on top of these projects and trying to put a fund together was a lot. But we finally got the timing right. It's like anything, like we were just saying, it's doesn't come without its headaches and struggles. That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
My years in real estate all came as kind of an accident, right? It was not something that I had originally set out to do. My background has had a lot of ups and downs from from very young to my probably my early 20s were pretty crazy from bad divorce with my parents to my life in the military to after that, because when I went in the military I was very young, was 17, and I went because I had a kid when I was really young, and with no transferable skills, I mean, what was I going to do? The work in McDonald's and take care of a kid, right? Not not really ideal. So my best option was the military, and I was still so young. My father had to sign for me, right? I couldn't sign. I had um, I had just gotten my GED because I didn't finish high school either. School and I did not mesh well. And then once I got out of the military, again, didn't have really any transferable skills that I could use real world at the time. I started doing personal protection for celebrities, and then my father had put me in martial arts when I was young. So I ended up, when I came out of the military, I went to Florida, got with a group of guys they were fighting MMA. It was popular, but it was outlawed in a lot of states. So we were fighting more on an underground circuit than anything. I did that for about five years, and the pay was awful. I think for my first few fights, I got like $300 per fight. It was really bad. Nothing you can make a living off of. So we were we were fighting like every week practically, to just really make ends meet, and barely doing that. Then I got lucky because one of my friends, I had gotten injured, and one of my friends he was doing really well in real estate. He had a mortgage company, and he came over and kind of had a heart to heart with me, took me under his wing, introduced me to real estate. So I learned how to do mortgages. Everything kind of blossomed from there. Step by step, I learned how to do mortgages. Then I was doing spec homes. Then I, learned commercial real estate. And then I went to work for Sequoia Capital. I moved back to New York. Then the market tanked. I lost everything. Any rental properties that I did build up and have, everything tanked. Lost my job because at the time, who was going to keep an underwriter on? At the time, I was underwriting, so there was really no need for that. Nobody else was hiring because we all know what the banks were going through. So that was awful. So I went. I remember I went from living in a decent house and having a few cars down to losing all my cars, losing my house. I had to go into a studio apartment. I went from making about 70,000 a month to zero. So that was not the best feeling. I had went to a real estate investor club meeting, met a couple guys. They kind of took me under their wing somewhat and showed me the ropes about real estate investing. They taught me how to do something called subject to creative finance is what it fell under. I learned how to do subject to real estate because I didn't have any money. I
Hmm.
lost it all. So with subject to, you're basically taking over a property subject to the existing mortgage. I was able to do it, totally saved my rear end because I was able to acquire 14 properties in my first 90 days.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
it totally turned my whole life around. Yeah. I was able to help the homeowners out because we were able to save their credit because we took over the payments, got renters in there, got their credit back in line because we caught up the payments. One thing led to another. I learned how to do fix and flips, and then I learned how to do different types of rental strategies and so on and so forth. So I progressed through that with making a lot of mistakes along the way, that's for sure. Ever since my days at Sequoia, I've always wanted to do a fund on my own. Just was never really able. And then, here we are, almost 18 years down the road, 17 and change. And I was finally able to, to put it together and have enough capital where I could actually fund it. Because I mean, just putting it together, if you don't have, 250, $300,000 sitting to spend, you're not going to be able to do it. We were able to put the fund together, and now we're here growing that out. We have, a couple other businesses as well, construction, scaffolding. We have a cannabis business, so kind of like a serial entrepreneur at the same time. Main focus right now for me is on the fund. My wife really, she runs the cannabis portion, but the fund has had my full attention, so to speak. But that's kind of like a snippet of where we got to today. It's been a journey.
It's been a journey indeed. I really love hearing those stories, especially when you first started into the military and now you're in real estate. Like, I bet when you went into the military, you would have never thought in a million years that you would be in real estate, right? It's
No,
just,
yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah, when I went into the military, I never thought in a million years that I was probably going to go into the military.
Hmm.
I was so young, I didn't know which direction I would go. But yeah, definitely real estate, definitely not something I saw myself doing whatsoever. And nothing with a desk or a computer did I ever see myself doing. It's where I ended up, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, everything I'm a big proponent on everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So, and as you mentioned, it took you 18 years to get the investment to actually start this company as well.
Yeah.
I know you have other companies, but it's like this is like I assume your long-term vision to actually start your own fund, as you mentioned, correct?
I've been blessed to have a good team behind me too. Uh, and that's had its ups and downs too. There's been plenty I've learned throughout my years, and I'm still learning. It never seems to stop. But a large part of getting to where I'm at has been because of the team that I have with me too. I've had a lot of the same people with me for, God, going on what, 12 years now. I've had some of them with me. I cherish them, I've been through everything possible with them, from personal things on their side to my side to you really have to take care of your people when you
Mhm.
have good ones, So that's something I believe strongly in.
100%. So going back on the investor pool, beyond the
Yeah.
the technical aspects, beyond the
Hmm.
tokenization, this cryptocurrency, that's, a very huge thing that people are still a little hesitant. What's the single most critical high leverage problem that your platform is solving for institutional investors and large scale dealer partners today?
Yeah, so good question. We work with institutional, accredited, and non-accredited as well. Our platform is a regulation D and regulation S combo. It allows us to work with institutional, accredited, and non-accredited, as well as we can work with investors overseas. So it's
Right.
gives us a lot of flexibility. What drew us to the tokenization, because originally we were thinking about doing a REIT, like a fractionalized REIT, where you could take a project and break it down into a bunch of different small pieces, and then you could have a bunch of people buy in, right? So everybody owns a small portion of the project. So I what I did was I wanted to go through the process myself. to see what that was really about and experience all the different parts of it. So I went and I invested in two of them in a couple different projects. Not a lot. I think I put in about 30,000 in each, right? Just to give it a shot. One of the things I did not like, unlike a stock or a crypto coin or something like that, if another opportunity comes up, your money is done. It's stuck, right? Once you invest in that REIT or what have you, you got to be in there for at least 5 years, right? You're not getting out any sooner than that. And so if you have another opportunity that comes up and all your money is in there, you're done. You got to just let it go because you can't pull your money out. So one of the big things with tokenization is it allows you the flexibility and the ease of access to liquidity of that investment. Meaning, so if you think of Bitcoin, or if you think of like an Apple, like a share of Apple stock, you can buy it today and sell it tomorrow. You can buy it now and sell it in 10 minutes, right? So you have a lot of flexibility. So the same thing now with real estate, they have structured it in a way where now you can come in, buy a fractionalized piece of this project, which your ownership is now represented in crypto. So you have, let's say a project has, I don't know, 10,000 shares. Each share is represented by one crypto coin, right? They call them stable coins because it's actually backed by an asset, right? So you can now take that coin that you own, which represents your ownership in that house or that development or that skyscraper or even a business for that matter. And you can put anything on a tokenization platform, anything that can be divided up into multiple pieces. So it can be a commodity, it can be a business, or it can be real estate, right? So you now have this property that you own a portion of, whether it's 10% or 2% or whatever it may be, and your ownership is represented in this crypto coin that is backed by the property, right? So as the property increases in value, your crypto increases in value, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you need to sell your ownership tomorrow, you can, because you can sell your crypto just like you could sell your share of Apple stock or sell your Bitcoin or sell your Ethereum or whatever it may be, whatever coin you have. It's the same thing with this now. So in essence, you can sell your ownership in that property as simple as you could a share of Apple stock, right? When
Uh-huh.
never before in history could you do that. If you wanted out of a project, you had to sell the whole project, right? The asset itself had to be sold fully in order for everybody to cash out. Now you don't have to do that, right? So it gives you a lot of flexibility from that standpoint, as well as you get all the tax benefits of owning the property. You get all the appreciation, you get the rental income, as well as I had mentioned, all the tax benefits. So it has a lot of upside with very limited downside. I mean, everything has pluses and minuses, but this has
Right.
very limited downside.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's actually really, really interesting. I never actually knew that, especially with tokenization.
Yeah.
I like the flexibility aspect. Going on like a consumer standpoint, having the
Yeah.
flexibility, having the tax differentials as well. That's pretty cool too. So
Yeah.
going touching base on, like, the hardships you did pre-real estate and also before actually doing the company, how do you think those dictated in terms of doing, like having your vision on, like, the structure risk, managing compliance, and just drive efficiency with the tokenization deals?
Anytime you're doing a business, no matter what it is, you always have those types of things to worry about. A lot of for me personally, I'm not an expert at any one given thing, right? I'm a kind of a jack of all trades, like you have to be with a business. we brought in to manage those different aspects. We brought in different team members that had the expertise to manage that. For example, the compliance portion and the accounting portion, we brought in Citron Cooperman, which is a part of More Global, one of the largest accounting groups in the world, and they are phenomenal at what they do. Right, so we have them kind of overseeing the compliance and the dollars and cents for us, right? With a fund, one of the biggest things is keeping track of every single penny, right? So, bringing in an expert to oversee that. When it comes to underwriting, we're pretty lucky there. We had a lot of people on our team already since we were doing real estate for ourselves early with the real estate investment company. We were having to underwrite deals anyway. So we had a lot of good underwriters on. So that we were pretty lucky with. But a lot of the other components we had to bring in, or what we've been doing is now implementing AI to bring down cost and to increase productivity when it comes to a lot of aspects of the fund. Right. One of the big things was how do we how do we decrease underwriting time and due diligence time while being able to get through a higher number of deals on a monthly basis, right? Because when you're dealing with other people's money, you have to calculate twice and cut once, so to speak, right? You want to measure twice, cut once, as they say in construction. But same thing here, right? You want to double check your deals, you want to double check your numbers, but that takes time. So we had to figure out, okay, I don't want to hire more people to do more deals. How do we keep this core team that we have, but help them do their job better, right? And increase productivity. So we brought in AI for that. It's taken our due diligence time on a project from a week to about 24 hours, right? So it's cut it down substantially.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
then on the marketing side, yeah, it's phenomenal. I was totally blown away when we started playing around with it and seeing what it could do. It was crazy. And then on the marketing side, the same thing. How could we? Because we're dealing with investors from all over the world, right? We guys from Greece, people from India. So you have people reaching out at weird hours, right, on their time zone. You want to be able to answer when they call, right? So, but clearly nobody's going to sit and wait for 24 hours. So we brought in AI for that. That's been working phenomenal. They pretty much deal with an AI agent when they reach out. One of our team will reach out to them, within the next day. That was imperative not only on the investor side, but also on the deal side, because a lot of the deals that we get, we're able to get them at such a good price because most of the time the people are in some form of distress, financial
Mhm.
distress, maybe the property's in distress. And when you're dealing with situations like that, people want answers now, right? They want answers
Quickly.
right away. So being able to implement the AI on that front has increased our deal flow and not having to compete with so many people because we're able to answer them pretty much instantaneously, right? There's no delay. So just a lot of things like that, being able to make the business sustainable, especially in the beginning, implementing things now that require a little bit more work in the beginning, but over the long haul, it decreases the amount of hours you're having
Mhm.
to put in, and your output is much better. So we have to look at it from multiple standpoints. We've been kind of on target with certain things like that, and we're still playing around with a lot of the AI and implementing it, but we're trying to implement um, one piece or introduce us, I should say, one piece of AI each month for a different
Mhm.
department. This way, we can have 10 to 12 implemented by the end of the year. And each department at that point will have really fine tuned the AI that they're working with.
I love that aspect, leveraging AI to not have another person you can hire, right? Because at the end of the day, you want, it's a caveat, right? Like you want to do more work, but then you also don't want to hire somebody. So what do you got to do? You got to leverage AI, which is brilliant, which is what you're doing. And I've seen a lot of businesses doing that as well, right? And given on your perspective, how most of your customers right now or overseas, as you mentioned, you can't have somebody sitting at the desk 24/7 waiting for somebody to, quick chat, right? That's how you leverage AI. It's brilliant. It's excellent. I love that. So, given your expertise in capital raising and lending, are you actively factoring into your current tokenization offering architecture to ensure kind of like future-proof compliance and scalability in terms of like, I'd say like the interest rate environment or digital security laws?
Yeah. So look, that's like with tokenization, one of the thing I had mentioned before, one of the things that kind of the downside to it is like regulation, right? Security thing is always front and center, right? You the protection of your people's information and financial, that has to be key. A lot of that on the tokenization side anyway, the platforms that you build your business off of are a huge piece of the business overall for
Mhm.
having a platform that's kind of end to end, right? Where you don't have to implement a whole bunch of other different softwares, which the more pieces you implement, the more kind of openings you leave for those cyber issues to take place. Getting a developer for the platform that can really build a platform that was end to end and had the most cutting edge cybersecurity that could be implemented at the time, and different policies and procedures where they were really putting the protection of information first, right? Uh, and then the other thing was how long do we have investors' information sitting online, right? Their personal
Mhm.
data, which is something that we after we do their compliant checks, the only real need to keep their information is for tax purposes, right? So once we have their data, the majority of it is not online anymore. It goes over to our accountants and sits with them. So it's not sitting on a platform. Development of that platform that it sits on is by far probably the most important thing. We use a company called DigiShares. They're one of the more well-known tokenization development companies that are out. They do a lot in Europe, but they are also here in the States. But they have one of the better names that are out there. They're definitely within the top five. Because you have a few out there that develop platforms, but you don't see a lot of tokenization funds yet, right? It's really just still um, starting to catch, right? Even though it's been
Yeah, it's
around for
still
about
pretty new.
5, 6 years or so, it's still catching because, like we were saying earlier, not a lot of people know what tokenization is or what's really behind it or what it's all about, right? So
Mhm.
there's still a lot of educating that goes on. Even so, you do have a lot of the bigger groups that are getting involved now, like BlackRock and Templeton and so on and so forth. So as you see it growing, you're going to see, improvements in the platform, improvements in the security, improvements and so on and so forth. But, look, being on the blockchain and, the, the level of security that you get and the transparency that you get as an investor is really, it's really second to none. So that security component is, like I said in the beginning, is always has to be, top of mind. That was actually one of the first things I thought about when putting this together. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, what if we get hacked and people's shit gets stolen, right? Like their information gets stolen. And then I'm gonna have a bunch of people that are gonna be pissed off at me. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to if I want to deal with this. But after talking to DigiShares and getting comfortable with them, they have a very good platform. So I will say that.
Mhm. And what happened there? You became educated, right? So it's
Yeah.
just going back on having people become educated, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
people are educated on the tokenization aspect, right? Similar with
Yeah.
like Bitcoin, because back in the day, people just correlated Bitcoin with black market, under the cover type of things, which now it's just
Yeah.
skyrocketed, right? I mean, what is it? I don't know what it is
Yeah.
today, but last I checked, it was like, I know it dropped a little bit Bitcoin, but it was like K
Yeah.
for just one coin. I mean, that's insane. If I would have
Yeah.
invested in that
It's
back in '09, right? I wouldn't be here talking to you.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
no,
That
that's
that
awesome. And
makes
again, it's
two of
all
them.
about just
Yeah.
being educated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there. Look, there was so much. You had so many people going different directions on, what it was going to be, and people that swore by it. When you look at it from a common sense standpoint, or when you look at any
Yeah.
other investment, it's like, how is this thing going to sustain, and how is this
Mhm.
thing going to be worth anything? Well, it's not supported by anything. It's not backed by anything, right? So,
Yeah.
but it it's definitely stood the test of time thus far and proved all of its naysayers wrong. That's for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's definitely, the digital currency market is definitely an interesting market, and
It's
I think
booming.
with the way everything is going now, it's not going away. So we might as well just get comfortable with it and learn how to adapt and use it the best we can, right? Because, like I said, it's not going anywhere. We're going to see it more and more in our lives, especially in the financial space. It's not going anywhere. Sure.
Comparing my generation to your generation, it might be a little
Mhm.
easier for us to do it because when we were growing up, we were just so technically savvy, you know,
Yeah.
going on the phones and computers. So that's something that's at ease for us. But given the older generation, it
Yeah.
might take some getting used to. I mean, look at any sports stadium. It's all online. Now you got Apple Pay, you got all these other payments they can do over the phone. I mean, just to give you a little personal thing, I remember I went to Home Depot a couple weeks ago, and there was a kid who was selling candy, and he asked if I wanted to buy candy. I said, "No, no, I'm good. Like, I don't have my wallet." He's like, "Oh, we take Apple Pay." Right? They're
What?
adapting to the current market, which is what we have to
Yeah.
do as well on a consumer level. Because as you mentioned, it's not going away. We might as well just get comfortable with it. But
Yeah. It's
things like that really brighten my day.
yeah, yeah, your generation is definitely more comfortable with stuff like that, because
Mhm.
ours, I still remember when I was younger, we had the rotary phone. You put your
Yeah.
finger in it, turn it around, and you'd have to wait for it to go back around. And then, so, going from that, and then seeing how fast things have progressed in, 30 years. And now
Oh, yeah.
you know, you don't need cash to pay anymore. You can do real estate deals I mean, it's crazy if you think back and really look how far we've come. It's a blessing and a curse in a way, because the amount of information that's that's out there, because look, everything at the end of the day boils down to information, right? You all have to learn and adapt to all these different things, and with things changing so fast, of course it's definitely a positive, because it helps us advance, but it also opens the door for a lot of nefarious stuff too. The governments, you see, they used to have to do, they would do information campaigns, or I should say disinformation campaigns, to sway you one way or the other, or make you forget about something. Now, they don't even have to do that, because there's so much information going out there. All they have to do is wait a couple months, and they don't even have
And
to do
stop.
a disinformation campaign. So much information comes out that in 2 months it's not relevant anymore, right? And it's like you're on to the next biggest thing, which in a way is sad, but at the same
That's
time, it
scary.
goes to show you how it's scary, right? How much
Mhm.
information is really out there, and how many things can get buried because of the amount of information, right? So with business, trying to stay relevant and stay in front of all of that proves to be more difficult as you go on. You have to always really be separating yourself from from the pack, so to speak, right?
Right.
And keeping yourself relevant. So it's a challenge being a business owner nowadays. You really have to stay on top of things, right? But it's again, it's a blessing and a curse.
Yes, and essentially it boils down to yourself breaking out of the noise. How do you set
Yeah,
yourself different than other investor pools? Okay, but yeah, no, it's going back to the information. We're just so inundated with so much information that it is very hard to keep up with everything, right? And
yeah,
going on the AI is constantly evolving every
yeah,
single day, right?
yeah,
It's a blessing and a curse, as you mentioned.
yeah.
Do you have any other visions, strategic wise, that's going to accelerate the investor pool within the next 12 months?
We're doing a lot of projects that are focusing on the housing crisis that we have in the US, right? There is a huge shortage in housing. Um, whether you look at it from a standard family standpoint, or if you look at it from a homeless standpoint, no matter which way you look at it, there's a shortage, and then there's also the affordability factor, right? So we are going to be focusing on trying to get as much housing repurposed or built that we can, and with a focus on affordability, and then a focus on co-living, and then also corporate housing, right? You have a lot of you have a lot of business growth that you're going to be seeing over the next couple of years because of the
Mm.
things that Trump has put in place. So you're going to see a lot of job growth. You're going to see a lot of plants getting built. You're going to see a lot of development from that going on. So there's going to be a huge demand for corporate housing, and then there's going to be a huge demand on just housing in general, and then also affordable housing, right? And that can be from folks that need more affordable places to live, that maybe have some form of government voucher, or folks that are more willing to live in a shared environment, whether that be from a professional standpoint or just from a community type of environment, right? Where maybe you have four couples living together, or you have you know um, six, seven, eight single people living together. This way, their cost of living is cheaper while they're renting, which will in turn allow them to save more money when they go to buy a house, right? So we're going
Right.
to be doing a lot of focus on that, and then we're also focusing on energy with AI, and a lot of the growth of a lot of the things technologically. Energy is a big thing, right? So we're going to be also focusing on doing solar power plants around the world, right? We're getting ready to do
Oh, that's
two
awesome.
in Romania right now. One of my partners is from there and is very well connected. So we have a two project solar power plant that we're doing in two different regions of Romania. So we have that, and then we have multiple housing projects that we're going to be doing. Some that we're already we've already started on, and then some new ones that we're just finished underwriting. So that's really where our attention is going to be, and the reasons behind it. But who knows? Maybe there's another avenue that we may go down where there's a demand. But right now, those two for us seem to make the most sense. But we'll see. We'll see what happens within the next few years.
As I mentioned before, you never know where life takes you. What you're doing
Yeah,
now could be totally different where you are in the next 2 years, right?
yeah, yeah, and yeah, you're spot on with that. That's for sure.
So, looking at your career as a whole, you
Yeah.
transition from military to now real estate. Before we wrap up here, what's the single most important practical lesson you learned through your journey that helped you excel in becoming a founder, becoming a CEO that you want to relay a similar message to have other founders kind of drive social impact, financial growth? What would be something that really hones in on just everything that you've done so
Yeah,
far?
I'll yeah, good, really good question. I'll tell you that for me, and something that I see a lot, um, look, starting a business or a new career, or whatever it may be, but from a business standpoint, but it relates to both. People are naturally nervous about doing new things. They don't want to
Mhm.
fail. They don't want to do shitty. They don't want to make mistakes, right? So, but those things are all givens. You're gonna make them. You're gonna have failures. You're gonna have things that are amazing that happen, right? But you're gonna have those losses. The most important thing is to take action, right? Don't worry about learning everything or having all of the answers. You're never going to find or have that perfect time. So, taking massive, imperfect action is by far the most important thing you could do in business. You will learn all those other things as you go. You will get bumps and bruises along the way, but if you never take that first step or you don't take that initial action, you're never going to get to that place where you want to be, whether it's making 10 million a month, 10 million a year, or a million a year, whatever it is that you want to get to. If you don't take that initial step or that initial action, you're never going to get there. Right. So I always tell people that I work with, because we work with up and coming business people that are new, and we do it for free. We just it's just something I like to do. I like to help people. So I always tell them, don't get analysis paralysis. Don't hesitate. Get yourself a base, understand what you're getting into, and then just do it. Like Nike, right? Just do it. Probably the single most important thing that I could see is taking that initial step and initial action and not allowing yourself to get paralyzed. You see, I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, people will hesitate when it comes to doing something that they are not 100% on, right? So if you have a dream and you have a goal that you want to achieve, taking that initial action is by far the most important thing that you can do. You'll learn the rest as you go.
You are 100% spot on that. I do believe that you do miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
And actions have actions of itself. You're
Yeah.
not learning, you're not excelling, you're just comfortable where you are. You're,
Yeah.
again, 100% spot on that. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate that. For
Yeah.
anyone who's listening or watching to this, what's the best place to get in contact with you or your team?
Yeah, so you could go to the website, theinvestorspool.com. All our contact info is on there, where you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, on LinkedIn. A lot of people contact me through LinkedIn. You just search the Investors Pool, we'll come up. I mean, you can even do a Google search and we come up. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome, Michael. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
talk to me today and come on to the show. Everybody's going to love this. I really do appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
I thank you for your time. It's been my pleasure, and look forward to doing it again.
It's my pleasure too. Thank you.